Again, open day week last week, so we hadn't really got together since our last outing against Army. So again, thought we started that game decently. We're able to have a decent first drive or second drive as an offense, and big long drive and scored to tie it up, able to get a defensive stop, which has been hard to do for that team. They scored their first two drives. So from there, I think we had a 16-play drive, then we had a 13-play drive, got it to the 30. Didn't maybe make some good play calls or put us in good situations, didn't manage to get points out of that one. They had a decent drive to get to 14, and then we do our first kind of 3 and out where not necessarily maybe a good run call or middle of the field, didn't have a good RPO. We tried to throw a bubble screen that was poorly blocked, and then a drop pass or a competitive play. And then they hit a swing route, and kind of like the last game for about quarter and a half, 2, we played physical, we played good, we've had decent game control. And then all of a sudden it's 21-7 half. They take the opening kick, pop a big run where we misfit it, 28, and kind of got into a similar mode as we were the week before at North Texas. So disappointed in that, but not frustrated or down. It's based on how we're showing we can play, just our ability to sustain our ability to, when something doesn't go well, just play the next play, whether you get a bad call or we make a bad call or we miss a block or miss a tackle or have a penalty. Again, for the most part, we wanted to control the game with the ball 35 minutes. We had 74 plays to 47, but when you score one touchdown, when you throw the ball 30 times a game, you're getting 3 yards of pass play. We're not making plays in the perimeter, so our offense needs to be better. Defensively, we battled. Unfortunately, as we went through in some of the coverages, our eyes got off of some of our, as they motioned, some man looks where we had to pass it, and we cut some receivers wide open, which was poor. So anyway, they've got a heck of a good team, and that one's kind of passed. You look at it a little bit, all we talked about was why we have 2 games in a row where we played pretty good for a quarter and a half, and then all of a sudden the same guys that were blocking well or tackling well, now we're not. So how do we get past that when something – we hit a little flutter. That last 3-4 minute mark of the second half, or first half, we haven't played well. We haven't started our third quarters, and we've let some games get out of hand in that what a lot of people call the middle 8, the last 4 minutes of the first half. So we've talked about that, whether it be play calling, whether it be halftime adjustments, and doing a better job as coaches for sure. But again, I think our kids can continue to play hard. I thought we've had a good week of practice during the open date. Quickly, all we did was Sunday we watched the tape. You do so much specifically to try to stop Army that you don't really look at, okay, now this week you're going to do it. Now this week you're kind of back to a different type of defense because you're not seeing the option, et cetera. We did have the ability over open date to, though, do some fair amount of, when I say self-scouting, you always do that. You look at how many times you're running the ball or throwing the ball, but really start looking at some efficiency things of, if we're blocking, if we're running a play and not doing it well, is it because maybe we have an issue in the blocking scheme? Or if we're giving up a big play in a certain defense, is there an issue with our coverage or our front, et cetera? So I think we've been able to look at some things, try to point our guys in some direction to what we want to go. Monday was an off day. We practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The coaches recruited Monday, Tuesday, Friday. We had a couple coaches and the young coaches here for guys on Tuesday. Thought we had great work last week. Gave the guys the weekend off. We got back together last night, started our temple prep. Basically looking at last week as an open date of just trying to what we like, what we don't like, what do we need to work on, looking at us. Really flipped it yesterday into getting into temple. And, of course, now we're in a normal game plan week, and we'll travel up there to play temple this week at 2 o'clock their time, 1 o'clock here. Again, temple, much like us, has been on the short side. They played a very strong schedule. They played at Oklahoma. They played Army. They played Navy. They played Coastal Carolina. They had a great opportunity to beat Connecticut and had an error at the end of the game, which cost them. They had a chance to win that game in the final seconds and didn't get it done. Had a good win against Utah State. So they're 1-5. Defensively, they're playing a really pretty solid, and I think they're 5th in the conference at pass D. Know their defensive coaches. Know Coach Drayton well from his career and have crossed his paths. A lot of respect for him. Offensively, their receiver leads the conference in receiving. I think they played 2 quarterbacks, maybe a little bit of injury, but trying to get settled at quarterback. So they had an open date like us, so they have had a lot of time to kind of look at themselves and prepare. I think it'll be a good game, a good challenge, and looking forward to a good week and getting back on track and playing strong and playing the best we can this week. Sorry for being long there.
Ask questions? Spencer? Considering how the last kind of 2 games went, how valuable was having a bye week to maybe kind of press a little bit of a reset button here as you kind of go down to the second part of conference?
Yeah, and when you say reset, I think as much anything, one, just to look at it, because again, not to be cliche or coach speak, but I genuinely really like the way this team practices, works, come to practice, their attitude, their vibe. I think we've played hard in some games that have gotten away, and all of a sudden, I don't see guys walking on the field. I mean, we go the other day and we don't have turnovers, and I think we got 6 games and 6 sacks, 6 games, 6 turnovers. That's not bad football. And at the same time, we're not scoring a lot of points. At the same time, we're giving up big plays. So to me, we had a chance just to look at and see, is there a common thread? Why? Is it just, is there something that we're doing? Like all I tried to do was look at what I thought I could do as the head coach, and then also as a guy that's a little bit offensive oriented, what I could do to help us be better versus sitting there saying, here's what's wrong. No, we got some really good kids that are working hard, good vibe. I think we got some really solid talent. We're going to replace some tough games with some games that we're going to match up in pretty good. What gives us a chance to win? We thought going into last week that a chance to win was let's control the ball, let's have some long drives, let's work it down the field and try to finish. And we did early, and then it kind of got away from us. So I don't know if, again, I really think the more I look at it, I'm not saying I've got what the exact answer is, but I just don't know if we're mature or have enough confidence or we're tough enough that when something didn't go our way and you get down and score, just keep playing. I saw where Minnesota this past week came back-to-back wins down to beat 2 Big Ten teams. First time like 30, 40 years they'd done that. I mean, when you get down, it's hard to come back. Well, for example, right now, okay, we got knocked down the other day. There's 6 games. So we're in the 6th round of a 12-round fight. You're not knocked out. You got knocked down. You need to get back up. You need to press and get back up and keep going. So, again, our guys I do think we have some positive leaders. I think we need to handle adversity. I think we need to handle when it doesn't go our way, which is not going to. I think when things are going our way, we're pretty good. But when you're tough, it's when things aren't going your way. So we just tried to, not berate the guys or put it down or just say, again, I see some really good defense, and then all of a sudden we're not tackling. I see some decent ball control. I looked at that. I think we're, as far as offensive plays, and we're not doing no huddle trying to go fast. We've got a lot of offensive plays. Well, if you got a lot of offensive plays, I saw the other day, I think we're 40th in the nation in pass attempts. We were 13th in total passes. Now, we hadn't played one more game because some guys had open date. But we're like 118th in yards per pass. So what are we doing in the pass game that we're not getting the ball down the field better? We're not making plays with that. So, to me, I'm just trying to find some common threads of, okay, here's what we're good at, here's what we're struggling at, and what can we emphasize? And, yeah, it was a little bit of a reset, but, again, from a practice mode, we went out. We had 3 really good practices. They weren't huge volume. They weren't walkthroughs. The kids responded well. I thought we had a great go last night. Again, truly, this is one of the best teams I've been around, guys that you like, care about, that are practicing and all that. We got to find that game success. So like you say, maybe it was 6 games. We did get a couple tough opponents there. We didn't play well. Let's see if we can bounce back and make a good run down the stretch here.
You kind of mentioned it right there, having a hard time kind of dealing with momentum swings and finding ways to kind of stop them and kind of get the momentum back in your favor. Is that something that you can teach how to handle those moments throughout the season, or is that something that you just have to be kind of thrown into the fire and learn through experiences as kind of what comes with playing a little bit of a young team, not knowing how to handle when momentum swings in the other way?
You can talk about it. To me, the guys that are playing and not playing, they're the guys that have to do it. And it doesn't have to be everyone. Someone's got to make it. For example, we had a great opportunity to make a competitive catch in a 14-7 game, and we didn't. We had a really good opportunity at North Texas in a 10-3 game just to execute pump protection, and we didn't. So sometimes it's just, it's the next play, playing the next play, and sometimes it's a guy making a play to flip momentum. So it's not like you need the whole team. Hey, let's all. Bottom line, sometimes it's just one leader, one guy. It's the right play call. It's as a coach putting your play. That's why I try to look at real hard. What can I do to make sure I'm putting our guys in good position? Versus saying, hey, you shouldn't do this, or that's not very good. Wait a minute, am I putting you in a good position? Or your position coach is putting you in good position? So to me, we got to work hard to make better adjustments, and then our guys got to make some, because the game is a game. I've heard a couple coaches this year, one guy's having a great season, said, hey, our guys don't get too high and our guys don't get too low. They just kind of keep playing through it, and we got to find a way to play through it and flip momentum and get it back. Because in every game, seldom are you going to have complete game control the whole game. where you totally control everything, the momentum, everything's going your way. They got good players. They're going to make plays. You're on the road this week. There's going to be ebbs and flows. Are we mature enough? I thought we showed at La Tech we were tough enough to come back. At Arkansas State, at North Texas, and against West Point, we lost that.
Are you expecting to make any changes, like offensively, just in terms of either personnel or strategy or anything in that regard?
We're looking. I mean, I don't think you can radically change. You got an open date, but at the same time, part of open date was getting some guys fresh, getting some guys a little bit of a break because they're coming off of not just 6 weeks, but 4 weeks of preseason. So it was nice to give her Friday finish your class, go see your high school game, go hang out Friday, Saturday. So to me, I don't know if you change as much as you just try to accentuate or what you want to emphasize. As you go down the stretch and things you're good at and not, but to all of a sudden say, oh, we're going to come out and, be a completely different offense. I mean, you've got too much time on task. But I think it's foolish to keep saying, keep doing this play. Well, either you got to find a player that can do it better, or you got to find some other plays or other formations to get to. And each week it's different offensively because of the defensive structure and how you want to attack it. But you are saying something that's true that we try to look at. It's not changing, but can we be better at this? Are we good at this? Can we be better at this? If we're not good at this, can we get better at it, or should we not even do it? Let's move on down the road. We got plenty of offense, plenty of plays. But you look at since the first game, we've been scoring 1 or 2 touchdowns a game, and that's not winning college football. So we got to find the end zone. We got to find it a lot down the stretch.
Do you anticipate that you'll shuffle quarterbacks more like you were
I just
talking
thought in that
about
last
doing?
game we needed to run the quarterback, and I thought because of the edges, you weren't going to get outside of them. I thought we needed Cooper that's a little bigger because I thought those were going to be big hits. He had 17 carries, and all those carries were inside the tackle box. And Kirk's a little bit more of a guy that can run a little bit with the throw aspect. Cardell's a fast guy, but doesn't win much. So I just thought last game to get some of the runs that we needed to insert the quarterback, and it was going to be a little bit more of a physical style, and I thought that fit Cooper. And this week we'll just kind of see. I don't like the revolving quarterback. I just didn't think we were going to see. What was Kirk, like 21 or something for 90 yards? I mean, that wasn't we're not getting a lot out of the passing game right now. So we've looked hard at that. How can we get more out of the passing game? How can we protect it better? We don't have a lot of sacks, but we need to protect better. We got some guys that, quite honestly, aren't getting a lot of separation or getting open that need to do better. And so when we're kind of looking hard at the pass game in general, Kirk's strength, and then last game again, it really just went to Cooper because he was as much as it did because we needed the quarterback run. I thought it was more of a power, physical running style that kind of fit him and his skill set the best.
Now you have lots of freshmen who have played, and it seems like sometimes there's some inconsistency in that. They'll start one week, maybe not make a catch the next week or not be around so much. Where are you on that? How are those freshmen performing? Is that just freshman inconsistency? Is that just the length of the season? Is that something that you're trying more to get them in different spots? How is that going?
Well, one, they are playing a fair amount. I think going into last game, they played over 1,500 snaps. I think we've got 24 of the 27 freshmen that we signed have played to some degree, whether it be Tim Carpenter just getting the last snap. I think last game, Aquavius Dunbar at linebacker. It's a good young 235-pound, nice inside linebacker, got his first work. I don't think there's been a great deal of game issues sometimes as much as practice consistency, where a coach might say, because quite honestly, when you're looking at them, the separation of skill sets, not a lot. But who can you depend on? Who do you trust? Who's had the best week? Joe Williams is picking up a little bit and coming on, but there's some flash of some good plays. But then, to me, a little bit of that high school wall. When you say is the wear and tear of the season, well, I do think for all those guys, they've now been here through summer, and they're long enough. They're not freshmen, but they're also at a period where they probably went longer and harder, both academically at a school. Most people come out of the senior year, especially coming off of the COVID academic world that we went through. Most senior classes, if you're not careful, kids got 1 or 2 academic classes, and he's got enough credits, and he's kind of teacher's aide and PE and goofing around. His schedule's not hard, so you get a lot of seniors that show up academically that are smart but had a lazy year. Well, now all of a sudden you're in a class where every week there's X assignments, X reading, X volume. and we're wanting our guys to do good at school. So I think the academic volume those young guys are going under, and the practice volume where not only are you good enough to play, but you have to go hard to play because that guy's just as good as you covering you or the guy you're blocking or the guy that's blocking you. So you got to bring it every day. And I think these guys get to the point where you start hitting that whatever that proverbial wall is. I'm not used to going this hard every day, day after day. I remember one time a kid say, "You expect me to do my best every day?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is kind of what we want." And sometimes you have enough talent, you can get away with it in a lower setting. Here with our school academically and our school football, you got to kind of bring it every day, and that's a maturing process. And with that, maybe there's, I think we need to play faster, and I don't mean tempo of running plays, but I think we need to play faster. So we're going to look at our play volume and practice volume. Are we getting tired? But I do think we've worked hard, and I do worry as our team has worked that I don't want to lose the freshness or the speed and these guys hitting the wall. And the coach has got to keep trusting them. I just keep telling the guys, play as many guys as you can. Don't want revolving door. We do need consistency. But at the same time, we don't have a lot of separation between the first back, the second back, the third, and the fourth. Between the first, the second, third tight end, there's not a lot of separation. It's safety between some of the older guys like Malachi and Dane and the young guys. So that being said, I'm not saying the coaches are trying to count reps. We're just trying to play a lot of guys, and hopefully that'll help down the stretch, and we can play stronger down the stretch. But there's again, I'm not trying to make everybody happy, but maybe that's led to some of our inconsistent play with the number of guys we're playing and guys getting flow. And we don't have a lot of injuries, but we've had a few, and there's a couple guys out, so that's kind of forced some lineups to be changed a little. But again, I just think it's a part of where we are right now with our team. You got some of your best players are the transfers that came in. They're trying to figure out their role, their leadership, and some of the best players are the freshmen. You've got some returners, but the core of the guys playing are a lot of you got those freshmen and transfers are getting probably 70, 80% of the work. And then you got some returners. So there's a team that's a little bit of college football right now, though, with the transfer portal and the guys that come and go. It's not like you got 80% of your team back and 20 new ones. So we've got some inconsistency, and at the same time, I still see a team that the way we practice, the way we work, and I believe in the way we do those things, I see a lot of good things. I think good things are close to happening. We got to stay positive. We got to stay with them. We got to keep believing. We got to keep pushing. And that's what we went through. I went through open day week, not finger pointing. Here's what I need to do better, and here's what we need to do better.
TJ? You mentioned doing a lot of self-scouting. From an offensive perspective, is it better to do a few things really well as opposed to doing a lot of things kind of good? Does that make sense from
No doubt. And when you say that, meaning, for example, I think there's a couple weeks where, when you play the Louisiana defense and North Texas, which is in the drop 8 deal, in a 3-man structure. That last week we're playing more of a 3-4 structure. The weeks before that, you had the 4 down. Basically, Oklahoma State was playing a version of what the defensive coach Knowles had played. So each week you're seeing some different structures, and then each week as a coach, well, hey, if they do this, we need to run this, and if you get this coverage, we need to get this, and we need to protect this way and push to this guy and ID this guy. And that being said, you're playing some young guys, and you're not meaning to. You're trying to put guys in good positions, but you can do too much. So, not that we need to scale back the playbook, but I do believe we need to play faster. We need to play harder, and I think a lot of it comes back to coaching. And so when I see our guys not doing well, what I saw the other day when I watched our team, especially from an offensive perspective, which is where I put the bulk of my vision and my time with as far as the schematic part, I see guys not playing as well, and I started saying a lot of this is totally my fault. I'm asking you to make some adjustments. Hey, if they do that, I said I got tired of saying if the other day. There's no more ifs. We're going to do this, and we're going to do it this way so we can play with a little bit more confidence. You want to be as sound as you can be. I think sometimes maybe I've gotten to where we can't be unsound. We got to protect the quarterback, which I think we're doing. 6 sacks. You got to protect the ball. I think we've got 2 lost fumbles this year, and one of them's on a punt. So the offense is at 1 lost fumble. So you're doing some things pretty good. But at the same time, we got to play harder and faster. And I think sometimes as a coach, we can paralyze our guys. And that's why I looked hard at how many times I think can we do things better. And that's why we tried to share with the players when we got back with them on Tuesday. And we had a couple group meetings of saying, look, here's some things that we want to try to accentuate and move to without changing offenses, but to give you a chance to play faster and play freer and play with more confidence. Because we got to play faster than we're playing. And I'm not talking about tempo and plays. I'm talking about playing the game, coming off the ball, running to the ball, gang tackling, running through, playing faster receiver. We got to playing faster in special teams. And so that's been a little bit of the emphasis this week. And I think one of the best ways to do it is make sure we're doing a much better job of coaching and what we're asking our guy. I think we've been coaching sometimes. I think you can overcoach trying to help too much, and not blaming those guys. I'm trying to do this as much as we can.
Like a paralysis by analysis almost?
No doubt. I mean, you're sitting here and you want to, I mean, I heard years ago, and I think I've said this a couple of times. I remember Marshall Falk saying at the Combine, the best way to slow a player down, especially a fast player, is make him think. She got young offensive linemen. Well, what if he does this and what if he does that? And I was sitting in an O-line meeting today, and our young center said, well, now if I go, screw, no more if on the safeties. We're going to do this. And we're going to do this as soundly as we can. We're going to be reasonably sound. But this game is not perfect. Life's not perfect. And if you try to be too perfect, you're sitting here and all of a sudden you're tying your hands. We got to cut it loose. We got to take care of the ball. We can't be careless, but we need to find some ways to play with a lot more juice, a lot more confidence, a lot faster down the stretch. And it'll be a challenge on the road. We're still young, and that might be a work in progress. But that's kind of been my mindset, trying to help our offense. I've challenged our defensive coaches now. Make sure that we're doing some things where our guys can be sound, not give up big plays, but we can play harder and get after the football and not give up the big plays better. So we'll see how it looks this week, and we'll see how we move down the stretch.
You probably won't admit it, but the first half of the schedule was tough. This back half is basically the bottom of the conference. I know you won't be trashing any opponents, but does the schedule feel maybe a little lighter going down the stretch here?
Yeah, and I didn't. I mean, to me, I think we've never won a game not thinking it was winnable, and our plan to win. I think sometimes again, as coaches. At the same time, you can look at those mathematical schedules. I've looked at those opponents. A couple of our opponents have played. Like I think Temple's played a strong schedule. They opened at OU. They played Army. They played Navy. Both those teams are ranked, by the way. They played UConn. It's 4-2. Should have beaten UConn. They got the ball on the 1 yard line at the end of the game, and they blotch a snap, and they run it back, so it looks like they lose by. I mean, they should win that football game. They beat Utah State, and then they lose to Coastal Carolina, sitting there 4-2. So they've lost to 3 teams that are 4-2, and 2 teams are undefeated. They've played a really good schedule. I think you look at what the other teams in our conference played. So you can say, well, their records look like I think their records. I think we're all kind of a little bit alike, and maybe we have our different issues. But as far as we've all played some decent teams, we've all been short for whatever reason. I'm looking more at us. What I see with Temple is I see a defense that's playing really pretty hard, doing a great job in pass defense. We got to find a way to run the ball. They just held UConn, who I think right now is 15th in the nation in rushing. I think they were 9th going into that game. They're averaging right now 230 a game rushing, and they held UConn to 90 yards. So that's not a bad football team. They controlled that game. They're like us trying to get their offense going. Their defense maybe is probably playing better defense than our guys are playing right now. So it's going to be a challenge on the road. So I haven't taught. I mean, what I have shown each week, though, to answer your question, here's our schedule and here's the guys we're playing, just to realize there's some positive hope that if you play well, which I always said even these other games, if we played well, we're going to be in those games. Unfortunately, we couldn't sustain playing well long enough. Anything else? Everybody great. Appreciate you being here. Have a great one.